Make others feel important and do it in a sincere way. Find ways to make folks feel really important. And Emerson said, everyone I meet is my superior in some way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real Estate. I'm your co-host, Dan Brisse, and this week we're going to dive into ways to be welcomed anywhere. I love Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and that book is timeless. And I'm going to share a few powerful points from the book and put this into a nice little 10 to 15 minute listen for you guys. And this is going to be, again, about how to be welcomed anywhere. And, let's face it, we like to be in places where people like us. At least I do. And sometimes we have to go places that may not always be the most comfortable. Maybe, you've got a mother-in-law, or you're in a challenging partnership in business that's difficult, or your parents are challenging to be around, or you've got folks that you wish were, just better friends with. So in this episode, I'm going to share 6 ways to be welcomed anywhere. So let's dive in. Number 1 is he talks about being authentically excited to see people, showing enthusiasm when you're around folks. And like I said, it has to be genuine, or folks are going to know it's not real. And the way he brings it up is, think of a dog. When you roll up in dogs, they just are so excited to see you. And most people love dogs because of it. A dog can't talk, and it really has nothing to give but love. And most everyone loves dogs because of this. Another point he makes is to be just really interested in people. And I can't tell you guys how many times I go to real estate events and someone will talk about their life for 20, 30, 40 minutes, and I'll get all this info on them. And then they don't even ask anything about my life. And in that case, the person who does the listening always wins. And the reason is you learned something about what that person is about, and maybe they gave you something that, is really powerful for them, and they really like you because you took the time to genuinely listen. So, being excited to see people is huge. Number 2 is smile. It's a simple concept, but a smile just says, I'm happy to be around you. And it's so simple, can change someone's day. Another amazing realization at a recent event I was at is just how, when I simply smiled and nodded at folks as we walked by, how much easier it was to spark up a conversation. So if you're going to these events, or, you're going to a networking event, just smiling will help draw people in to want to talk to you. And that initial how you doing moment is easier to have. And Charles Schwab in the book said his smile has been worth $1 million. And that was years ago. So it's probably worth $1 billion in inflationary adjusted numbers. He also said that his ability to make people like him were almost wholly responsible for his extraordinary success. Actions speak louder than words, and a smile says, I like you and I'm glad to see you. So, just keep that in mind. People who smile more tend to manage, teach, and sell more effectively. And they even say forcing a smile will eventually help you feel better. And I've noticed this happens for me at times. I don't feel the best, and I might put a smile on, not totally feeling that way. And within a few minutes, I start to feel a little bit better. Third way to be welcomed anywhere and to be liked is remember a person's name. Ron White spoke at the real estate event I was at over the weekend. And if you don't know Ron White, look him up. He is absolutely unreal. He is hilarious as a speaker. And he says no one has a bad memory. It's just untrained. And I like that concept. And Ron can teach you how to train your memory for a very reasonable cost. Actually, it's called Black Belt Memory, I believe. I signed up for it, and I got my son working on it as well. Anyway, I shit you not. He rolled into lunch, introduced himself to 200 folks, and literally 30 minutes later had all 200 of us stand up as he's presenting. And he said every single person's name in under 3 minutes. When he said your name, you had to sit down. And it was absolutely unreal. And I've seen him do this more than once. I've seen him speak twice now. And in the book, Dale Carnegie says the sweetest sound in the world is someone's name. And the topic they like to talk most about is themselves. So get good if you want to connect with folks at remembering their names. And Ron gives 5 steps to become more efficient and trained with your memory. Step one is focus. Focus when you're walking up to someone. What's his name? What's his name? Focus. Two is file. Have a file. He teaches this in more detail. Have a file in your mind of where to put things. And then you're going to attach a picture to it with an action, and you're going to review. Focus, file, picture, action, review. So it's focus, file, picture, action, review. Anyway, go check them out. It's far too much to teach here, and I'm no memory expert. Number 4 is to be liked and to be accepted in any room is just be a great listener. I think about this, and when I have someone who's really listening well, and they may even be repeating back what I'm saying for further clarity, and I can just tell they're genuinely interested in me, it's a pretty great experience. So being a great listener is, unfortunately not common. So practice it, get good at it, fully focus when talking to someone, and you will connect much faster with folks in a shorter period of time. I know that when we go to these events, you don't have a ton of time to speak to many people. So I always am looking to connect with the right individuals as quickly as possible. And I've definitely found listening well has helped. The other thing that can happen when listening well is you can encourage others to talk more about themselves. And ideally, you authentically are interested in, and if you're not, find one thing about that person that's interesting. That will be felt, and the connection will give you an edge as you build relationships 100% of the time. I know that when we have issues on site at our properties, this is another thing for managers or leaders. If we show up and I really listen to the on-site team and they feel truly heard, it does a great deal to help us resolve the issue, helps me better understand where they're coming from, and helps us build a plan to keep them a part of the team and to resolve the issue. The next point that Dale Carnegie talks about in How to Win Friends and Influence People is number 5 is talk in terms of other folks' interests. So what do others like to do? What are they interested in? And ask them all about it. It gets them excited and they want to talk about it. Ask for details. Really look to discover what it's like for them over there when they're in their element, and praise folks on what they've done well, when appropriate, and acknowledge their importance in making a difference or achieving a goal or creating, just any specific outcome. And this will make folks invite you back over and over again. Remember, you guys, in business, it's about connecting with people. Not everybody, of course, but there's some folks who you're going to need to get on your team or want on your team. And the better you are at some of these topics, the quicker you're going to be able to connect. And then the last point Dale talks about, number 6, is make others feel important and do it in a sincere way. Find ways to make folks feel really important. And Emerson said, everyone I meet is my superior in some way. So talk to people about themselves and they'll listen for hours. I love that. So as we transition, I want to give you just one other part of the book that I think is really, really powerful. And this goes for families, bosses, managers, and it's never criticize your team or your kids for that matter. It'll only create resentment and problems. Instead, it may be much more useful to go and figure out why they're doing what they're doing. I can say for sure with my kids and my wife and my team members, when I'm criticizing, it does not produce the outcome I'm looking to create. Something he mentions in the book is he suggests to keep in mind that criticism will put people on the defensive, and it will usually make folks justify themselves. So once folks are on their defensive and they're justifying, they're more so proving themselves as to why they need to do what they think they need to do. So criticism is dangerous because it's going to hurt a person's pride and their sense of importance, and it's going to arouse resentment. So, they might take the criticism at face value, and the moment you turn your back, they might have a new agenda for your business or how they, are going to be with you or others in the company, which could cause havoc. Whatever they do, it most likely will not align with your goals after they receive criticism. So be very careful and X the criticism from your vocabulary. Keep in mind, when we're dealing with people, we're not dealing with creatures of logic. We're dealing with creatures of emotion. And when wounded, it generally starts a chain of negative events. And criticism is like a little cut The more you do it, good behavior will learn much more rapidly and retain what is learned far more effectively than being punished for. So think about as rewarding the folks when they do a good job. I think about that in my life. When my dad praised the heck out of me for doing a job really well, I was 10 times more likely to do good or better the next time. Whereas if, someone gets done with a job and they're either just not acknowledged at all or put down due to poor performance, their performance will likely follow in a poor manner. Now, if the person actually did a poor job, which that does happen at times, what can you do? Can you find a couple things they did do really well? And can you talk about those first and the good habits that, were in place? And then, can you show them how you want the other things done and show them why it could be more efficient to do it the way you want it done? And it'll just encourage your team to be in a team building manner. And the last thing I'll leave you guys with that Ben Franklin said here is, I will speak ill of no man and speak all the good I know of everybody. Hope this short little podcast helps you guys when it comes to associating, learning, and connecting with folks. Everything in business is about connections. It's all about relationships. When I look back at my life, the biggest one thing that moved the needle was getting to know the right people and having them like me and me liking them. And I hope this helps you guys in anywhere you are in your journey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Keeping It Real Estate. If you want to learn more about what we do at Granite Towers Equity Group, please email us. You can hop on to www.granitetowersequitygroup.com/contact.